In today's Best of Raleigh, I have got a treat for you. A local celebrity, national celebrity, and Coley Group team member, Claire Guentz, is with us, and she is going to be telling us all about her journey. You know, I've been so impressed with Claire since she joined our team. She's personally bought and sold a number of homes, has tremendous personal experience in real estate, and she's taken a previous career in content creation and turned that into an incredible real estate business. She's one of the top agents on our team, and I'm so excited to welcome you. Thank you so much for coming on the show today, Claire.
So kind. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm really happy to be here. I'm excited.
Well, tell us a little bit about your background and how you've had a pretty interesting journey into real estate.
Yes. So my background actually is working as an RN. I used to work at Duke's Medical ICU. And then during that time, to give you kind of just like a brief synopsis or summary of everything. So I was working as an ICU nurse at Duke, and then during that time is when I had started, I guess this was like around 2015, content creation with Instagram and a blog. And over the time I was working as a nurse, I started to see, this, what I thought was a hobby, could actually turn into a legitimate job. So I left nursing after 4 years to do content creation full time. And then in the more recent years, I thought, okay, what else do I want to do that I could be interested in and that I can still use the network and marketing background that I have, but turn it into another business of something that I really enjoy. And then that's when real estate kind of
clicked for you.
Yes.
So you were living in Denver at the time when we first met, and we met, it's kind of an interesting connection. She was working with a team that is one of our trusted partners in Denver, and you were referred to us as a client. So you actually went through the Coley Group as being a client first, and she chose to work here.
Well, that was very intentional because I knew, so a little backstory, I had lived in Raleigh, for like almost a decade, moved to Denver for a year, and then decided after a short year, we wanted to come back to Raleigh. We just missed the East Coast. We saw how much Raleigh was growing, and my husband and I were like, that's where we need to be. So of course, I knew, since I was already working with the Compass team in Denver, I thought, well, there's only one Compass team I'm going to work with in Raleigh, the Coley Group. So that was a bit of a strategic move where I was like, well, if I want to work with them, I'm also going to use them to buy my home in North Carolina.
And that's so great. I love that story so much. And thank you so much for thinking of us like that, because, you know, the power of the Compass Network is a real thing. You've seen it since you've been to work here, but just having those trusted partners in other markets is really crucial to land a referral like Claire, who worked with one of the agents on our team, Riley, who you've now become great friends with.
Yes,
you guys are
love
actually going to be living just down the street from each other. And it's a testament to, you know, what real estate is all about. Right? We're getting involved with people's personal journeys at a really intense rate. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. But I want to talk about kind of like, why real estate? Like, why did you choose of all of the things? Because I don't know if y'all know this, but my dream career is a content creator. I've never
we should just switch
I've never
places.
been able to figure out how to make money doing that. And, but you know, I think I get to do a little bit of that in real estate. So why real estate?
So I feel like whenever a couple years ago, I was kind of thinking of, okay, what is a career that I can use my current platform that I've built, not only from a audience and like network and marketing perspective, but also something that involves content creation. But the other main things were I didn't want something that revolved around me anymore. Content creation has been great, and it started off as a hobby, but I think when you get to the point, you are the brand, like you are the product and everything is about you. And I just was getting a little burned out with that and didn't love that, but I loved using social media and like the strategy behind it and the content creation portion, but I just didn't want to be so centered on me and everything that I was doing day to day. The other thing is I knew from working as an entrepreneur for the last several years, I did not want anything with an income cap. I did not want to work a 9 to 5. I wanted to be basically paid based on my performance. And I also, probably like most people, but truly do love like interior design. I've redone a couple homes that we've moved into. So I felt like real estate was honestly just kind of like the perfect hybrid of everything that I was looking for.
Yeah.
And yeah, it just made sense and was kind of a no-brainer. And so I finally was like, okay, I'm going to put content creation a little bit on the back burner and actually study for my license and go through all of that.
I think that's a great synopsis because I do think you're kind of a serial entrepreneur. You've done this twice now where you've kind of gone from nursing into a completely different career. That's scary, right? And the thing that I've seen from you is your personal experience in real estate has really helped you leverage into what home buyers and sellers are looking for. So you've sold a number of homes. Tell us about how many homes have you sold in your personally?
I'll be going on 5.
So 5 homes personally bought and sold, which lends itself to a lot of experience. How do you think those experiences are helping you right now with your buyers and sellers that you're working with?
I mean, the main thing is I feel like it has shown me what not to do. in the sense, well, I've realized even as someone who has now bought and sold multiple homes, I understand the process and how it works, but you realize when you're on the other side of it as a client, no matter how many times you've been through the process, communication is so big. And so I know for me, when I've lacked that communication on the other side with an agent I'm working with, that's something now with all my clients. If I don't have an update for them, I will text them and say, hey, I don't have the update is there is no update. Like, have not heard back yet, but I think having that consistent communication and just letting them know, hey, haven't forgotten about you, still working on this, because the radio silence sometimes, even when you know that things can take time, you just want to be in the loop as a client and feel like you're top and know that you're top of mind still.
You're so right. You want to be loved. You want to feel loved. You want to feel seen, heard, and paid attention to. And I think your nursing career really takes that nurturing from nursing that you gave to people there. That piece added into real estate magnifies your ability to connect.
I do. I mean, so Karen, obviously on our team, had literally, because her background is in social work, had told me when I first started, she was like, as a nurse, like nurses make great agents because you have that empathy. And so I think it's something I don't necessarily realize, or it's more subconscious, but yes, I do think that helps. I mean, especially with first-time home buyers or at any point buying a home, whether it's your first home or your 5th home, it's going to be most likely the biggest financial purchase of your life, and you want to feel like you're with someone that understands you, that you can trust, and so it's not something to be taken lightly, or I don't take it lightly.
I agree, and that rolls into your passion for your clients. I have seen how hard you've worked. You've been in real estate for less than a year, and we have a lot of agents come through this office. A lot of them do not make it. Real estate has a very high failure rate because it takes some things that you can't really quantify. It takes drive, motivation, empathy, and it takes someone who cares so much about another person that they're willing to put everything else aside and focus on that and deliver for them. You definitely have that gift. So what makes you so passionate about the clients that you work with?
I think probably just even from like my personal experience, having gone through it, I know, and I guess that's again like the empathy piece. I know what it's like, just the process, but also I know what a difference homeownership has made in my life, from even just like the emotional standpoint of having somewhere, like the emotional insecurity piece of it, of having somewhere that you can truly make your own. I'm a big proponent of your environment is a huge dictator of your success, of your mood, and having your own place that you can really customize to your wants and to your needs, I feel like has a huge impact on how you operate on a day-to-day. But not only that, I feel like I've seen what homeownership has done for my husband and I in terms of building wealth. And, we bought our first home. This number is about to shock everyone because nothing exists anymore at this price point. We bought our first home, 10 minutes, 15 minutes away from North Hills for $210,000. And it was the cutest house. I mean, now it's probably like 400 something. But it was the cutest home, and because we purchased that when we did, 2 years later, because of the equity we built, we were able to purchase something 3 times as expensive. And then because of the equity we built in that second home, we were able to purchase something twice as expensive. So and yes, like our salaries did increase, but there's no way we would have had that equity if we had not owned a home. We would not have been able to get there. So I've seen what a dramatic change it's made in our lives. And I want other people to know, like, hey, you just have to start, and then like you can have the same
I
thing.
love that you went there because there's a lot of things to unpack in what you just said. The first thing to unpack is the first home doesn't have to be your dream home. You just need to get in the game. So what advice would you give to a first-time buyer who is in an apartment right now in Raleigh, paying 100% interest on that apartment, not gaining any wealth? What advice would you give them?
I would say that, again, remember your first home is not your forever home, but number one, the amount of equity that you are able to build when you purchase within a shorter time frame is way more than you will be able to earn salary-wise or save on your own. So I think one of the misconceptions is, people think, okay, well, this isn't exactly what I want, and if I wait longer, I can save more for a larger down payment, and then I can get into that next price point. But then by the time you've saved that next price point is now up another tier. So you're really just continuing to set yourself back versus if you would purchase. And again, our first home, it was very cute, genuinely loved it, but was it our dream home? No, absolutely not. But it was our own. We knew it would be a great investment. And so because of that, we were like, let's go ahead, purchase it. And we can reassess in 2 and 3 years. And that's what we did. And then we used that to get into a home that we were like, wow, this checks so many more boxes that we were looking for. And I think especially in the Raleigh market with how quickly it's growing, you can't out-earn or out-save how quickly the market is appreciating.
100%. That is the takeaway from this. You cannot do it. So I love that you said that because that is such an important thing for people to realize. And the other piece to this is the wealth creation from real estate. And I want to make sure we say this out loud because I think people know it, but it often gets missed. When you sell a primary home that you lived in for 2 out of the last 5 years, you take up to $250,000 in equity as a single person or $500,000 in equity as a married couple tax-free.
Correct.
You cannot out-earn that. You cannot possibly in 3 years or 5 years make enough money that you could have saved $250,000 net or $500,000 net.
And I think the other thing to that point, I see people often on social media, when we share about these luxury homes that are in the 1, 2, 3 million plus price point, people are like, what do these people do? And the thing is, a lot of those people who do own those homes are either in sales, so again, like a commission-based business, they're in medicine, so there's certain careers that they're entrepreneurs. So like there's certain careers that do lend themselves to making more money. However, a lot of times, and I've seen it between myself and friends who are now buying those multi-million-dollar homes, yes, they are higher earners, but the way they're able to actually afford the mortgage payment is because they've built up so much equity in their previous home that they're able to offset that
That's a great
Yeah.
point, because I do get that too. It's like the trolls are like, God, what do these people do? How much money are they making? It's not about how much money they're making. It's about how much net worth they have. And net worth comes from earning as much as you can in all of your investment vehicles, letting your money work for you, and paying as little taxes as humanly possible. That's how you do it. And last time I checked, real estate was one of the best ways to do that. If you think about 90% of the wealthiest people in the world, their money was created in real estate because of the tax vehicles. They say that the United States is the American dream is homeownership. The reasons that it's that way is because of how much wealth you can truly build. And it really sets you up for the rest of your life. And people who are buying these $2 million houses probably have owned 5 houses since they were 25 years old.
That was us.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Very easily.
And I think that's a great point, and something that, again, the reason I also shared how much our first home costs is because I think a lot of people think like, okay, well, I have to start in a home that's more expensive to gain that. And again, like our first home was in the 200,000s, and when we moved to Denver, we bought a home over $1 million, literally just because of the equity that we had built up and stacked from going from home to home. So again, I share that because you can do it starting at a lower price point. And, we bought the first home when my husband was in school and I was working on a nurse's salary. So I just share that to give context for.
And there might not be 200s out there right now, but there are places that you can buy in the 3s.
Yes.
That could make sense for you, but getting in the game is
Exactly.
the big part. Not waiting, because I don't know if you heard the Fed announcement that they're talking about lowering interest rates 3 times. And
By the end of the year,
of course they are, because we're in an election year. But that is going to stimulate people to come out off the sidelines and into the market, which is going to drive prices higher. It's what we've been saying all along, and it is happening right in front of our eyes right now. We've had a tremendous increase in phone calls, text messages, Instagram reach outs, all of that.
Well, and also I just saw that they announced, or basically right now, the average, or not the average cost of a home, but if you purchase a home that's $400,000, they basically said over the next 3 to 5 years, depending on what market you're in, they're projecting it to increase to having $100,000 in equity.
I agree.
So like imagine if you purchased a $400,000 home and in several years you wanted to move and you had $100,000 plus whatever you've been paying off your mortgage to put down in a next house. Imagine how much that can
It can change your life.
Right.
It can really change your life. I want to ask you this question. Do you wish you had back that little $200,000 house?
No. Well, maybe I would have rented it out. But I will say, because of that at the time, that selling that is what gave us the leverage to move up. And so I think now I'm happy with how all of that has played out, but now I look at it where it's like, okay, instead of maybe necessarily like continuing to move up, it's like, okay, maybe for a future home, instead of moving up, you take out a HELOC and use it to purchase another property that can make you money. So your money can make you more money.
And again,
and it just depends on personal preference. And, maybe you do need to upgrade because you have kids and your home is growing. So it's just like really personal.
It is personal, but I
like.
do feel like there's such an opportunity for investment if you have the bandwidth to buy at a very low down payment and live in it for 2 of the last 5 years, earn an income for 3 of those 5 years, and then sell it. That is a tool in your toolbox to really build wealth, and that's a whole nother conversation. But I want to go back to the aesthetics. I was on a call yesterday with our sports entertainment division, and they had the mind architect. His name is Peter. I'm blanking on his last name, but he talked about how aesthetics and function equal peace. Aesthetics in a house, beauty of a house, and then the function of a home are the most important piece of peace in your life. That was not intended, but it's such a big thing. When your environment is wonderful, you love it, it's the way that you want it, there's so much to be said for that. So you're doing a lot with helping people figure out exactly what they're looking for in a house. How are you helping them determine what type of lifestyle they want to live?
I think the main thing is, when you first meet with people, they have an idea of what they think they want. And sometimes and sometimes I shouldn't say think, they know. And there's people, if you've bought several homes, you know, for the most part, this is what worked for us, this is what didn't work for us, this is what we need. But especially as a first-time home buyer, I encourage them to think about things that I didn't necessarily think of, or it's, you know, hindsight's 2020, where it's like, okay, what is your daily lifestyle like? Are you someone who works from home all the time? Do you have to go into an office? Do you need a space at home for a gym? Or do you like going to boutique fitness classes? Are schools important to you? Kind of thinking through all of those things and then narrowing down the top priorities and being like, okay, very few homes, even if you have an unlimited budget, very few homes are going to check every single box, because it also just depends on what's available in the market. So then it's like, okay, these are your priorities now that we've talked about your lifestyle and what is actually going to be realistic and what is going to bring you, like you said, the most function on a day-to-day basis. Because there's a difference, I feel like, between what you would like to have, but then what is actually going to be realistic for your day-to-day life and how you operate.
You're telling me, because I want every house I walk into. And then I bring my husband to them and he says, you don't want that house. We can't live in this house. Are you crazy? And I'm like, God, I am crazy. I love them all.
We can't live because of X, Y, and Z, but you still.
He's like, we're missing a bedroom. I'm like, duh. You know, I want them all. They're all beautiful.
Exactly. They're all. And so I think then it's like when you get past the, okay, this is really pretty, or it's like, okay, how does this actually break down to how this fits into your life? And for some people, they might say, okay, we know we want to be in here for the next 10 years. So it's like, let's think that through. And some people, we say, hey, this again is not a forever home. Does this work for you for the next 2 to 3 years? And does this check those boxes? And if so, this could very well just be the best option right now, and it doesn't have to be
the forever.
So
I think that's a great point. And I want to point out too that I think what the difference between an average real estate agent and a great real estate agent are the intangibles. It's not just the negotiation and finding a house and, you know, all of those things and helping you get it to close. Those things can all be quantified. The intangible is being able to separate emotion from logic and fun, and what is going to be the house. Instead of being emotional, like I get in a house for myself, I get super emotional. Instead, take that emotion out of it and think through all of the things that you just said. How are you going to live? What is your day-to-day like? What do your kids do? What kind of lifestyle do you want? That type of real estate agent is what I would consider a great agent, just like you are, who can help you not make a bad decision or not make a mistake. Because if I could tell you how many people call our phones here at the office and say, I bought a house last year or 2 years ago, I made a mistake, I need to get out of it. You know who they're not calling? They're not calling their last agent. You know why? Because they know. They can't put their finger on it, but they know that they did something wrong for themselves. And I think that's a compliment to you, because I watch you with your clients and I see how you help them do that.
Well, I appreciate that. And I think, to your point, again, there's a difference between making a conscious decision of knowing this is going to be a home that we're going to be in for 2 years, and then we're going to use it to build equity and leverage that equity to move up, or we're going to move out so we can rent it as an investment vehicle. There's a difference between that and a difference between just purchasing something and then being like, oh, I actually don't know why, because now that I'm actually thinking through everything that actually makes sense for our lifestyle,
I hate this house.
That's not working.
That's what they say.
Right.
They're like, I hate this house. I got to get out of it.
Right.
So I got one last question,
Okay.
two last questions for you, Claire. Why Raleigh?
So I feel like, as someone who's now lived here for almost a decade and then went to Denver, and also I will say, prior to our brief 1 year in Denver, my husband and I have visited a lot of other cities, and we always felt like Raleigh was just like such a sweet spot in terms of cost of living, things to do, moderate weather, the people, the culture. It just checked a lot of boxes. And I honestly think when it came to Denver at the time, it was during the pandemic, and I think everyone was getting a little, not kind of antsy, but, you know, we were like, maybe we just need to mix things up.
Oh, they were antsy.
They were antsy. And try a little bit of a bigger city. And so that was the catalyst behind moving to Denver, because we just wanted a city that was bigger. And then when we moved to Denver, we realized the grass is not always greener.
It's greener where you water it.
It's greener, yes. And I think on top of that, we saw how much Raleigh has grown in the last several years. Yeah, we're the idiots that left, and then we came back with everyone else. Like in the last several years, and we were like, now we're able to, again, now that we've removed ourselves and like looking from the outside in, we're able to see why so many people love Raleigh. And again, I'm really excited about all the growth that's happening here, because I feel like we are a big mid-size city. And so you kind of still have the best of both worlds, where our median housing price is just over $400K. So you can still actually buy something that is semi-affordable compared to a lot of other bigger desirable cities that people are moving to. And the $400K homes here are actually, you can get like a very cute, nice house. It's not like in Denver.
It's not a
like,
box.
Well, 400 didn't exist in Denver, but yes, you're like, oh, this is actually something I will enjoy living in, and you can still be close to all different kinds of amenities. And I think the other thing that I really like about being here is that you have Raleigh, which I've lived in this area now in the pocket of Raleigh for the last, again, 10 or so years, but there's so many other areas that are becoming desirable that they're building out into. Cary, the Briar Creek area, Morrisville, Durham, Fuquay, Wake Forest, North Raleigh. So there's kind of a little something for everyone depending on what you're looking for. And it's not just like when you get outside of Raleigh, there's nothing.
I agree with you 100%. And I love that you shared all of that. Thank you, because it just reiterates why we think Raleigh is such a special place. So Claire, tell everyone where they can find you.
So you can find me on Instagram, Claire G Real Estate. And I'm like, I guess you can also follow my personal page, just Claire Guentz. And
at thecoleygroup.com.
Yeah, and Claire at thecoleygroup.com if you'd like to email me and we can chat.
So Claire, thank you so much for coming on the show. It is obvious from this conversation that we love Raleigh. We think that Raleigh is a pretty incredible place to live. And this show is all about introducing you to the people, the places, and the businesses that you need to know and do business with in Raleigh. This is your guide to luxury living. So if you are thinking about making a move either in the Raleigh area or into the Raleigh area, we want to be your go-to resource. Claire is an incredible agent on our team. She would love to help you if you've made a connection with her. We'll put all the details for contact below, and give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email. We'd be happy to share our team's success with you and make sure that you're plugged into it. Now, if you love this show, tap follow and be sure to stay up to date on all the happenings that are coming your way in Raleigh. And we drop a new show on Apple, Spotify, and on YouTube every Friday. So follow us, stay in the know, and we are your go-tos here. We will see you in the next episode of The Best of Raleigh. Thank you.
Thanks for
That was
having
awesome.
me.